For years, the residents of Hammanskraal demanded adequate water and sanitation. They protested. They barricaded roads. They put stones on the roads to make sure there'd be no traffic moving. They even went to court and sued, and now they are dying. Yesterday it was confirmed that the number of people who have died there due to a cholera outbreak has now reached 15. This, of course, in the context of the Human Rights Commission in 2019 telling us the water in Hammanskraal was unfit for human consumption. In 2020, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, came to the same conclusion. Did people have to die before attention was given to this problem? The Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation is David Mahlobo, and he joins us now on the line. Deputy Minister, thank you for your time and welcome to our program.
No, thank you very much, Bongan, and to all your listeners across the length and breadth of our land.
The pertinent question was asked by residents when you were there yesterday. Did we have to die before government paid attention to us?
The incident that has happened, it was not supposed to happen. And the Water Services Authority, we don't want to be pointing fingers, but the reality is that the Metro of Tshwane has not lived up to its constitutional obligation when it comes to provision of water that is potable and safe to drink. And the problem is very historical. And we must admit that it has not been easy working with the city of Tshwane because national government is not a big brother or a big sister to these other spheres. These other spheres, they are distinctly independent and they are government on their own. And as we are correctly capturing it, we've raised these matters. Initially, there was issues of denial that their wastewater treatment works is polluting our rivers, especially the Apis River and the Leocral Dam, where this chamber plant is, where that is coming from the Rooival. I was there when the CSIR put that particular report that they even dismissed. But ultimately, we forced them with the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation. A very comprehensive plan was produced, Bongani, to address the issues. And the municipality started to implement the plan. Then they defaulted on that particular plan. And then the merry-go-round around instability in politics like you see today around local government. Ultimately, National was forced to issue the instruments at our disposal constitutionally. We started sending them directives that you are not complying, do certain things. Then they will come in and do inadequate plans. Ultimately, they never wanted to cooperate with everybody. And,
Deputy Minister, I'm going to come in there and say to you, this issue is not a new one, as you correctly point out. In fact, it goes all the way back to 2005, when it was first identified that the Rooival water treatment plant was receiving significant volumes, much more than it can actually handle. Successive administrations in that metro have not been able to deal with this. So here we are. It's an historical problem. And does it, I don't know if it helps to blame a particular administration because, as I say, it's a long-standing problem. And in fact, it's not unique to Hammanskraal. It's not unique to this metro. There are many areas around the country where this kind of thing could just as easily happen.
Bongani, what is important is that the problem factually is historical. But in terms of governance in our land, any successor in law, you take assets and liabilities. Those who are running government, they will have to take responsibility to deal with these particular issues. For an example, if we are being asked to be supported like a reputable institution like the CSIR, we have your water, you have your South African Human Rights Commission, including Parliament doing its work in terms of oversight. You produce a plan, you don't implement it, and you refuse support. Ultimately, we take you to court like we did. We took them to court. But we must admit that the current administration, this new mayor that has been there just for a few months, has reached out to us as a department. Minister Mkhunu last week, when he got an invitation on Tuesday, Wednesday we met them to say, let's deal with those particular issues. Unbeknown to us, on Friday, there was the outbreak. And then that's how we responded, like you see in the media. But we must admit that local government has become our weakest link. A number of our municipalities, irrespective of which political party is running them, they are struggling. Whether it's the city of Cape Town, Durban, Mangaung, and so forth, you can name them. And as national government, we've made a decision. We will support them, like we're supporting a number of areas. But where they can't come to the party, we will intervene. But if they continue to pollute our water at the scale they are polluting our water, the water in South Africa will not be fit for use. It will cause this harm in terms of environment and human lives. Therefore, we'll be hard on them, but at the very same time, do what the Constitution requires us to do, to support, but also intervene when there's no movement.
I want you to now listen to the conversation my colleague John Perlman had yesterday with the Tshwane Mayor, Celia Brink, yesterday around Rooiwal and what he thinks needs to be done going forward.
The plant is biologically and hydraulically overloaded. It's been out of capacity for many, many years. As far back as 2004, there was indications that an upgrade was needed. At present, the situation is that critical upgrades, only 60% of phase one have been completed. The contract ended when the contractor left the site. So there is now a process to appoint a new contractor. But crucially, phase two of the contract, which is the big refurbishment work that needs to be done, the value of that is about 2.5 billion rand. Now that is the entirety of the city's capital budget in one single year, which has prompted us to say in last week's State of the City address, we must admit that the City of Tshwane cannot do this by ourselves. We have to urgently look at ways of cooperating with the Department of Water Affairs, with private partners in order to get the capital to do those upgrades.
All right, so two things stand out for me. One is we really can't politicize this around the current instability in that metro and a number of others. No administration has covered themselves in glory as far as dealing with this problem, all the way dating to 2004. But most importantly, Deputy Minister, 2.5 billion rand is the estimate of the mayor. What can you do to assist?
We've agreed that going forward, in this week, the mayor and our ministry, led by Comrade Friends Mkhunu, will meet with them because we're already in court. We'll complete, we've assigned our Director General on our side and his MM to actually conclude a very comprehensive plan on how the problem can be resolved in the medium term to the long term. And it requires a lot of money. And we have a number of options how to unlock money that is required for the project, either through government in terms of the Urban Settlement Development Grant, which is metros they are deserving to do. We have a partnership office, the budget facility in Treasury. We are going to help them. But because of our experience, where Tshwane successive administration, they've chosen not to respond positively on these issues. Our agreement is going to have to be made a court order in terms of declaration, because if we don't do that, the next day there's going to be a new mayor then, or a new MMC. You don't know what is going to happen. But I don't agree with the initial statement where we can't take responsibility. Every successor in law, Bongani, has a responsibility. We took responsibility even when there are challenges in this Department of Water Affairs that Mkhunu and ourselves are running right now. We can't distance ourselves because the DA administration has been there from 2016, and I do agree that there were those who were there before who never did much about this problem.
Which is why, Deputy Minister, I think politicizing the issue isn't going to help us, because as I said earlier, this isn't unique to this metro. I mean, we've spoken to water experts, for example, who are suggesting that we've got as much as 5 billion litres of untreated or partially treated sewage that go into our rivers every day across the country. It's popped up in Hammanskraal in this instance, but it may well pop up elsewhere in many parts of the country. We've got to find a way to deal with this before more people die. That's the critical that's the critical issue.
I agree. I'm on record. Minister has been on record. We don't politicize issues. But at the very same time, we must not shy away from taking responsibility and accountability.
So what accountability does your party take? Because this is a problem that started in 2004. If anybody needs to say we messed up, then I would say it was under the ANC's administration, dating all those years ago when you were told this is what was coming.
Well, if I was asked to come in as an ANC member of the ANC to respond, Bongani, I would have done that.
But do you see where politicizing takes us? You get my point when I say, look, let's think about what we need to do going forward rather than pointing the finger. That's where it takes us.
We agree, but you can't dismiss the fact that all successive governments or successive authorities will take certain liabilities. And if there were missteps that were made by those in the past, we cannot say that cover them in glory. We will also point out their shortcomings. But those who are actually here now, they have a responsibility to take us to the next level. Hence our view that we are going to support them. Irrespective which administration is running this thing, we are doing it in KZN everywhere. We are supporting because we can't politicize issues of water. They're about life and death.
David Mahloba, appreciate your time, the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.